Welcome to this special edition of West Side Stories. I'm Preston Donikoski.
And I'm Reagan Blissett. West Side Stories is a new weekly show right here on PBS. Each week we bring you the latest on what's going on in West Michigan.
From Muskegon to South Haven, from Holland to Grand Rapids, and all the places in between, we cover the people and places that make West Michigan a special place to live and work.
And we bring you stories from a unique point of view. You see, West Side Stories is produced entirely by students from the Multimedia Journalism program at Grand Valley State University.
And that means you'll get a unique perspective from young journalists who are busy crafting their trade and learning the ins and outs of multimedia journalism.
So please stay tuned for this special behind-the-scenes edition of West Side Stories.
West Side Stories is produced by students from the Multimedia Journalism program at Grand Valley State University. Support also comes from the School of Communications, inspiring thought, perfecting practice.
Welcome back to this special behind-the-scenes edition of West Side Stories.
As we mentioned before the break, West Side Stories is a weekly show produced entirely by students from GVSU's Multimedia Journalism program.
Our show represents a unique partnership between WGVU and GVSU's Multimedia Journalism program.
So it works like this. GVSU multimedia students produce news stories about West Michigan life each week.
And every Wednesday, WGVU gives us studio time and personnel to help shoot the studio transitions for the show.
WGVU also helps us put the final show together by Friday, and then that show airs on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. on WGVU Life.
That's the simple explanation of how the show works, but the actual production of the show takes a lot of effort.
And the one responsible for all of that is Professor James Ford. He is our executive producer.
So let's check in with him now and see how West Side Stories got started.
The whole thing got started last May when GVSU professor Len O'Kelly introduced me to Jay Lowe. Jay's the assistant general manager for WGVU, and together we worked out a plan to put students on the air.
I think the thing that excited me the most was I didn't see a reason why it wasn't a win-win. And for us, it would be getting the students to be able to come into our facility and provide content and experience what we have to offer here at WGVU.
Right away, Jay and I were on the same page, but I had to look for some more money for the set. So I talked to School of Communications Director Jonathan Hodge, and he was able to work his magic and come up with some money that we could then put together with WGVU funds and fund the set.
When this was presented to me, I saw it as a really great opportunity to partner with WGVU and to do so in a way that would support our multimedia journalism students. And so it was really an easy decision to share some resources and to make a small investment in this really outstanding space that is facilitating the production of this new show.
I worked on the design of this set in Google SketchUp, but it was Phil Lane who really made things happen.
I've been through building sets before, but this was something we wanted to be really special.
We had a few unexpected surprises, but somehow Phil made it all work.
We ordered what we thought we needed for the 3D wall, and then we kind of expanded the surface area that we wanted to cover. So, hey, we better order one more, and deadlines seem so far away, and then you start working and they always get closer and closer, but it really all came together nicely.
This project came together at a perfect time for the Multimedia Journalism program and for the School of Communications, because we've been in need of a new set for our students to work on for years. Our students have been doing a newscast program that was part of a class, but they were using equipment that had been handed over from one of the Grand Rapids TV stations maybe 30, 35 years ago.
You know, in the end, I think the set was just another example, or working through the problems that we had with the set were just another example of a great partnership between WGVU and the Multimedia Journalism program. And ultimately, the ones who benefited were the students who finally got themselves on the air.
After the West Side Story set was constructed, we had to decide on what kind of graphics to use for the show. No small task.
You see, viewers like you expect quality programming, and part of that is the professional look of the show. We turn to WGVU graphic designer Megan Felch.
There's graphic design in every single television production, whether it's news, a talk show, a sports show, especially sports shows. It's kind of like 3 different fields mixed into one. Like there's graphic design, there's motion graphics, and then there's just like plain like video editing. I think your role is kind of twofold. Either it's branding, so the things that are like an open to introduce your show are really important, especially when it comes to motion design, or it's more about giving you additional information or kind of like covering up a cut. Either way, like you get to be creative.
And graphics are just one important part of the show.
Probably the most important job, shooting and editing good stories, falls on the shoulders of students.
Professor Ford talks about how students have risen to the challenge of producing broadcast quality content.
It's one thing to do a story for a class assignment, say. It's a completely different thing to do a story for a broadcast program. Let me give you a quick idea of what the students have to go through to produce a story. The first thing we do is we have a meeting to decide who's going to do what stories. We talk about what possible assignments there are, what some sources could be, and we talk about where they could go shoot. Next, students check out gear through GVSU's production support resources. This is really kind of an amazing resource for students because it gives them access to broadcast quality equipment. Once they've checked out their gear, then they go out and they shoot a story. It's important to remember that today's journalists often have to go out by themselves to go shoot a story. They're camera operators and reporters and editors all in one. We call this backpack journalism. Sort of a one-man or one-woman band. After shooting a story and interviewing sources, it's time for these guys to go edit. That's right, they have to edit their own stories, and they have to write them, and they have to voice them over too. Okay, Jess, what are you working on?
Just fixing the audio for this metalsmithing piece.
I like to jump in as often as I can to try and help them work through a story, find how to put the pieces together to best tell that story. I can tell you it's a lot of hard work, but in the end, the students almost always say they appreciate the fact that they've just produced something that's going to hit the broadcast airwaves. I tell the students, you know, it's a lot of hard work, but in the end, it pays off.
After our stories have been produced for the week, we go through a rigorous process of checking them over. We look for things that seem to work, and we look for things we need to change.
All stories you see on West Side Stories have been reviewed by fellow reporters and by Professor Ford before they hit the air.
It's important to note that students from GVSU are solely responsible for the content you see on the show, and that's a big responsibility, but it's also a great learning opportunity.
Once stories have been approved, it's time to produce the studio segments that tie all the stories together. That's where our director Savannah Bressman comes in. She's like a ship captain at the helm in sometimes stormy seas, but she lives for it.
I love doing it. I fell in love with broadcasting around 6 years ago, and I never want to stop. As a director for the show, I call the shots is pretty much what a director does in a TV show, and so I sit in the back with my TD and I watch over the shots and make sure each shot is looking right and all the cameras are doing what they're supposed to do.
And we're eliminating your first close-up. So right here, this is still going to be a 2-shot.
And then I call them live, I tell them when we're recording, I tell them pretty much everything to do. The producer pretty much steps down when we're in production, and everything's on my shoulders.
And we're eliminating Preston's close-up right here.
Being a director is really nice because I get to call what I want, and I like having that extra sense of pressure on my shoulders. This pressure makes me produce a lot better, and it really made me realize that this is what I want to do in my life.
3, 2, 1, cue 'em, take it.
We are very proud of the job that Savannah does in the studio. She's an absolutely great director.
And finally, we can introduce the part of our behind-the-scenes show that I personally think was the most fun to put together.
I definitely agree. In this next segment recorded earlier, I sat down with my fellow co-host for the show and asked about their experiences behind the anchor desk. Check it out. This whole show is students. I mean, it's students recording a program and it's on television in like a top 50 market in the U.S. So that's just, that blows my mind that we've had the chance to do this.
Yeah, no, it's been a great opportunity. I remember first coming in here and looking at the studio all set up and having tears in my eyes just because I was so excited. And I really proved myself this semester that I could create content and I could anchor and be serious about what I want to do for a living here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and you know, Callie, I'm sure you kind of have the same thoughts about it.
Yeah, it's just really funny kind of watching everyone's stories. You know, all the students in the class make their own stories, and you can kind of see how their personalities are and how they shine through each of their stories. So that's something that I really like, and every single week we go through and watch all of their stories. So it's really cool kind of seeing what they come together.
When we first got into the class, there was times when, you know, there was a lot of talk between us and WGVU. I wasn't sure if this was going to be pulled off. I didn't know if, you know, us as students could do this, and just, you know, to finally have it airing I mean, it's seriously, it's a dream come true.
It really is rewarding being able to do this and knowing that it's going to be, more people are going to see it, you know, all over Michigan. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, and I know Reagan and I don't know about you, Preston, we did Laker News, and we still do, but just anchoring for that versus anchoring for this is just so different. This is just so much more put together and so much more serious, and I just think it's awesome that we had such a great professor to put this whole thing together for us and help us produce each of these shows. We wouldn't have been able to do that without him. He did not let us give up. He was like, nope, you're gonna make your story, like there's no way out of this, and it really pushed us and it made us succeed.
Yeah, definitely held us accountable, that is for sure.
I think another really cool thing is that, you know, instead of, you know, typically when you're doing stories, you know, you sometimes get 2-3 weeks. I think this is really setting us up for the real world.
Yeah, I definitely feel like we were such on a tight deadline that if I could do this, I know that I'll be able to transition well into the real world, you know, as a multimedia journalist.
You know, going back, we were talking about the great professor that runs this. I do have a bone to pick though, because doing this show, I had to put on quite a bit of makeup to be able to pull this off, and you guys definitely helped.
Callie really was the perfect makeup artist for the show.
Yeah, my makeup skills got to be used for this, which made me feel, you know, really good.
Especially Paul.
Yes, yeah. Yes, all you boys have shiny foreheads, and I really liked mattifying them, making them look good for TV.
Yeah, that's an interesting, I don't know how you guys do it. You know,
every single day.
Yeah,
Takes a village.
Preston says that he goes home every single day after this and he washes his face because he hates all the makeup I put on him.
I can feel that there's something there, and it's not, I don't like that feeling. So being able to go home and wash it off, that works for me. If you get any behind the scenes footage, and I'm sure there's loads of it, we're always on our phones at the desk. Is that a nerves thing, or is that just a...
I think it's more because we have this great setup behind us. We want to show our friends and family, at least for me, that like, look what I'm doing, and we want to make sure that we're branding ourselves on social media too. So I like being on social media and taking pictures of where we are, what we're doing, and kind of just showing everyone what we're doing.
Yeah, I really like documenting my life, and I really like the fact that you can Snapchat, you know, what you're doing behind the desk, because the people that are watching those stories aren't there and they don't get to see what it's like. So the fact that we can like Snapchat and do these different things kind of makes our audiences feel like they're there as well.
Yeah, more of a behind the scenes look.
Yeah, I think some people aren't aware of just how much work goes into doing a show like this. I mean, I get Snapchats from our directors that are all back here of just, you know, the things that they see through the camera. And I think it's just really cool knowing that there's so many different people coming together to put together a program like this. And like you said, it's just coming back to showing our friends all the good times. But there's definitely a lot of stress involved.
Yeah, they don't see the 7 hours I'm putting in to the videos, holding back tears. But you know, when I see the show and when it's going to be broadcasted, I know it's going to be all worth it.
I get stressed out, and I'm not even having to do stories regularly. So I can't imagine what it's like for you guys.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing too is finding people with those stories that are really impactful, or maybe not a lot of people know. Like I did a story on a sorority sister donating her other kidney to a girl that she didn't even know. So the fact that I could share that with everyone just makes you feel really good that you can have that voice for those people.
Yeah, the people that we got to meet during doing these stories just really stand out. And you make friendships and you get to show West Side stories throughout the West Side community. So we really definitely have made a presence with all the stories and people that we've done and met.
And it's one thing to be able to do all the stories. It's another thing to be able to do all the stories and then talk about them again on air. So just take us through, what's it like being talent here?
I would say being talent it's really exciting because a lot of people, when they tune in, they're just gonna be focusing on the two anchors and then the story. So we're definitely, have to represent West Side story as well. So, and it is harder than it looks, but I know that it is a great experience, and I'm getting that practice of how to compose myself on air that I couldn't get anywhere else.
I mean, I have to put on makeup. You have to stand on a box.
I have to stand on a box. Yeah, me being 5'1" is really not ideal for being talent. But yeah, you stand on a box and you just take it as it comes and
you make it work.
Make it work.
So Callie, what about you? I mean, what's being talent like? What's something that, people watching, I mean, it's easy to people, you tune in at home, oh, I can do that. What's something that they don't get?
Something that I don't think a lot of people understand is all the confidence that it takes to go up there to talk in front of a camera. You have a control room full of different directors and the teleprompter person, just like everyone's back there and everyone's talking amongst themselves, and it could be about you. So it's like a lot of pressure. So something that I don't think a lot of people get is just how much pressure is on you to read the script perfectly, to enunciate your words, to take a breath, to use your hands, and I think that's just something that a lot of people need to understand.
It's not easy. It's a lot of self-pressure too. I know this entire year, Professor Ford has been just on me to slow down, and I guess when people watch this, I hope they realize that we are really trying to master our craft, and we would not be able to do that without the voice coaching from our professors here.
It takes an army. I mean, you think about it. You got Megan doing production graphics, you got Kyle being our floor director, you got numerous students on cameras, you got Savannah, you got Sam, you got Mitch, you got whoever's doing audio that day. All of that combined with what we have to do on camera. Yeah. I mean, it's so many parts coming together.
I know, and people don't get to see all that hard behind the scenes work, and so we have to really just try to make it look good and successful to kind of to make them proud, to make ourselves proud. So.
So, Reagan, you're a senior. Callie, you're a junior. You're here now. Where do you see yourselves in 5, 10 years?
In 5 to 10 years, I definitely see myself at a new station in hopefully a larger market, fingers crossed, or either in California doing entertainment news or just doing news and just really building my career as a reporter, as a multimedia journalist, and making sure that I'm doing what I can and having that hustle to do what it takes to become a multimedia journalist.
Callie, what about you?
I think the biggest thing for me is I don't really care where I end up as long as I am happy, as long as I'm making a living, as long as I enjoy the journey, wherever that takes me, whether it's news, entertainment, California, wherever. Just as long as I'm happy and following my heart, that's the biggest thing for me.
The profession really is a joy. I mean, you get to meet so many people. I mean, from doing just this show, like you said, the people that we've met, the places that we've been able to go, and to be able to have, WGVU and Grand Valley and PBS, all of them supporting this adventure. I mean, it's amazing. It's strange introducing yourself and then seeing yourself on TV again right after.
Yes, it is, Preston, and that's something that only you could see happen right here in a behind-the-scenes show for sure. As we're putting this together, this special edition of West Side Stories, we thought it would be appropriate to talk briefly about WGVU Digital Studios.
That's right, Reagan. In a spirit of partnership with WGVU, we do air some content from WGVU's digital studio, usually towards the end of the show. Producer and director Andrew Murray Murray fills us in on the unique mission of WGVU's online presence.
WGVU Digital Studios is some short form content that we put across all of our social media, whether it's YouTube, Facebook. We're starting to do some things with Instagram, Twitter, things like that. It's short form, which means, you know, anywhere from 45 seconds to 4 minutes, 5 minutes long. Sometimes it'll go over. We're not really, you know, kept to any specifics with that. It's the internet. You can do pretty much whatever you want. It highlights 6 different areas of the community that we felt like we wanted to highlight. One is beer, obviously, which is huge in West Michigan. Grand Rapids is, you know, we're Beer City, USA.
School's back in session. The seasons are changing. This is a great time of year. This is when brewers begin making seasonal beer.
We also highlight art, you know, art prize with all that stuff. We do art all across the community, because not just during Art Prize.
We are literally going to run this art prize. Join us as we introduce the art to you.
We also do Order Up, which is food. We highlight all the great food Grand Rapids has to offer, kind of give people a behind-the-scenes look at you know, how it's made, what different restaurants are trying to do to engage people. We do veteran stuff. We want to give back to the people that have served us and this country. We also do Grand Valley Sports Shorts. All in all, it's short-form content that really engages with the community on sort of an entertainment but also educational level.
And we are very grateful to WGVU Digital Studios for loaning us content from time to time. Please make sure you check them out online at wgvu.org/digital studios.
As we begin to wrap up this special behind-the-scenes edition of West Side Stories, we wanted to ask our cast and crew to look back at where we began and look forward to what the future holds. Here's what they had to say.
So when I think about this show when it first started, I remember being a little worried. I remember just being like, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna have mini heart attacks like every Wednesday.
A live environment, even at people who do it every day and are professional, it's a challenging environment.
The intense thing about a live production is that you can't mess up. It has to be perfect from beginning to end.
Every step of the way, it seemed like we were kind of hitting roadblocks here and there and things like that. But, you know, that's the great thing about working with such talented people here is instead of just saying, oh, well, it's never going to work, we try to find ways to make it work.
I've worked on enough sets and enough projects to know that they don't ever come out exactly how you first envision them.
The stress and pressure of production was definitely there.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, and but I mean, that's going to happen. You know, when you're in the field, it's going to be a lot of work out there. So it was a good experience, I think, overall. You know, looking back in retrospect.
I'm very proud how far our multimedia journalism students have come for this show. They have gone from really not ready at all to now, after 10 pilot episodes, they are ready for prime time.
It's really cool to see that students that, you know, that don't have the degrees yet, students that, you know, might not be as, you know, sharpened technically and things like that, can actually make a program that we want to air here and make it so it does fit our standards and things like that. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm optimistic about what the future holds for this project.
I think we're going to be producing some really good content here in the future, and I mean, I get to stick around for another couple years until I graduate, so I'm super excited about that.
It was just how much easier it got with time, and now I feel like I've gotten pretty good at it, you know, and now I'm not afraid to pick up the phone and call or to, you know, put a camera on somebody's face.
I'm really excited that the students have got something real to work on. You know, a lot of what we do in a classroom is kind of artificial. It's an assignment. If I turned it in and I didn't do well, nobody's going to see it. You know, this one, their parents are going to see it, their neighbors are going to see it, their classmates are going to see it. That makes it so much more real, and it's a much better opportunity for the students to be part of. I can't wait to see what they do. I'll be watching at home.
To have airtime in a major market, I think that's a really valuable takeaway for the students, and we're providing a real value to WGVU as well.
I just look at it as we're just getting started, and it can grow, and right now it's some of our time here in the studio, but I look forward to the students coming in here and working a lot more regularly and and loving being over here and learning from us and us learning from them too. And believe me, we've learned a lot from the students that we've had here.
Where we go is, you know, I mean, as far as our imaginations will take us, right? You know, this is PBS. This is what we do. We want to bring, you know, this sort of stuff to people, and you know, students are the people in our community, and they deserve it. And I hope that you know, we do right by them.
And that's all the time we have for this special edition of West Side Stories. I'm Preston Donikoski.
And I'm Reagan Blissett. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again next week.
West Side Stories is produced by students from the Multimedia Journalism program at Grand Valley State University. Support also comes from the School of Communications, inspiring thought, perfecting practice.